Oh, Bill, did you by chance have a street party, like, recently because of the coronation as well?
Yeah, actually, a local area. Well, not in the housing area, thankfully. No, it was more so in the main town block.
Nah. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
so
Bill's having parties?
my street had that yesterday. Like, the road was closed and everything. People were bringing out, like, quiches and all sorts of food. One of the first times I've actually spoken to a lot of my neighbors.
fair enough.
I'm literally just like, I'm just here for the food. As for how the rest of the street party went, by the time it got to, like, I don't know, like, 7-ish or so, everyone was, like, drinking pussy juice and cum.
What the fuck is going on in
It
England?
Even I'm like, excuse me. Are you telling me
Okay,
there was an orgy happening outside?
okay, for context, I have this Irish neighbor.
Please.
Neighbor. Those are cocktails that she makes.
Okay then.
Yeah, pussy juice is like a slushy, and well, it's technically called cum juice now.
I'm gonna speak to Kels about this because I'm like, okay, is this actually a thing? Okay, so I think we've all said our opinions on the characters and dynamics. Shall we get to the action sequences as well as the twist villain, which honestly is not even a twist well, I mean, actually, no, I do have some positive to say about the twist.
Oh boy, let's get into something that was okay.
Okay, so, mate, you definitely don't know who this guy is, do you?
Okay, so Sean's already said it. Yeah, the moment Batman showed up and figured out it was Kilgore, this was me.
Who?
Yeah, that's a majority of DC fans. Not even
Okay, I was hoping that would save as a GIF.
I mean, it still works. I like it. I love the blank. I'm going to put this on screen. Just the blank stare of his face and just the.
There we go. I got the actual GIF.
I don't blame you, honestly,
Oh, yeah.
for being like that, because I didn't even hear of Kilgore until this movie.
I knew of Kilgore
Yeah,
from the Flash
I'm just throwing
TV
this out there.
show.
I'm just throwing this out there. I've heard of Captain Boomerang before Kilgore.
Oh, he's a popular villain, though. That makes sense. Now, okay, so.
Honestly, I would have rather had Gizmo be the main villain compared to Kilgore.
Gizmo! Oh my god! Someone actually knows Gizmo?
Teen Titans. That's where I first met Gizmo.
Yes, someone else knows
Meanwhile-
Gizmo.
Meanwhile, me.
Hold on, okay, what? You've not watched.
Oh right, I don't think Mate's ever seen Teen Titans.
All right, well, they're not in the movie.
I remember watching it when I was a kid.
Okay, well,
He's
okay.
the guy in the green jumpsuit with the goggles in the hive.
Okay, we're not talking about Gizmo.
I remember every episode to an exact detail.
Okay.
I was like really rather young.
Yeah, okay, well, we're not talking about Gizmo, but, yeah, well, maybe if he appears in the next movie. Alright, let's talk about Kilgore. I'll go briefly over his history, because even I'm not as big a Look, people, I've read some DC comics. I'm not a sado nerd that's read every single comic book. However, from the TV show The Flash, Kilgore is a super intelligent robotic character who wants to possess the Speed Force. Because, well, who wouldn't want the Speed Force? And he's an egomaniac. He feels himself as, I am the superior being. And he even takes a jab at all the other intelligent characters like Brainiac. Because even though Brainiac is far, far more powerful, more intelligent than Kilgore.
I've heard a lot of mechanical villains in DCR.
Now here's the thing though, and this is going to be my major complaint. It should have actually been Brainiac. Because one of the biggest things about Brainiac is that he searches worlds, including other universes, for knowledge. Wouldn't that have been a good motivation for him?
Do you honestly
Maybe, but I can kind of respect them going the more obscure route.
Well,
But
Route,
logically,
whichever.
I am curious. Do you think Brainiac would logically work with any of the RWBY villains?
actually, yeah. Brainiac has made fake alliances just to get what he wants. He's even teamed up with Darkseid a few times. Now, here's the thing about Brainiac, though, and why I feel as though he would have been better as a twist villain than Kilgore. Now, sure, I think the reason they chose Kilgore is because it was a way to nerf the Flash, because honestly, this twist would have been better if other characters acted like their characters, but Barry was very out of character, but given how a lot of DC characters were out of character, I never saw it. When looking back on it, though, they did drop some subtle hints, especially when they were trying to go over which villain could have caused this. Flash goes, "Oh, what about Kilgore?" And they're just like, "Oh, that guy." Like, you know, that was
That was him just being like, "Pay attention to me."
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, about Kilgore and why Brainiac. Brainiac searches for worlds for knowledge. He's obsessed with it. So, what if he discovered the RWBY universe, but then the Justice League knew they would be in danger, so tried to stop him, something happens, then they get sent to that universe, but Brainiac's still trying to escape while collecting Remnant. Now, before anyone says it, Brainiac captures entire worlds and imprisons them. And many times the Justice League had to get those worlds back. So that could have been an interesting thing where Team RWBY got trapped by Brainiac, so they had to escape, and then they could have fought Brainiac. He's a cool villain. And plus, in Injustice 2, man, he has the best voice out of all the boss villains from NetherRealm Studios. And plus, they could have done so much creative stuff, fighting like Brainiac fused like Grims. Because what he does, he collects organic flesh and combines them with technology. Can you imagine Brainiac looking grim? Like, here, I'll bring it up like a... Imagine like D's, but as Grim. It's like he gets Grim and fuses them with his own technology. Can you...
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They look cool and intimidating. And plus, that would have been a good way to have like both the Justice League fighting DC/RWBY villains. Because as much as I love the action sequences in this movie, because yeah, we're moving on to those as well, it was good, but it was a bit repetitive seeing them just constantly fight the Grim, which I know that is a thing in RWBY, that is their main antagonist, but they also mix other baddies involved in RWBY. You know, like Mutant Grim, bandits, the White Fang, you know, or criminals. So, I don't know, just Kilgore just summoning Grim. My theory is budget. Maybe RWBY just went into their files and they just felt, we already got the Grim made, so let's just reuse them. But yeah, just, I don't know, just a missed opportunity to not have Brainiac mixed in there. I would have even liked it if Kilgore summoned other Justice League villains. Like, can you imagine he briefly summons Sinestro to fight like Jessica Cruz, but then Jean comes in and knocks him out. Summons like a weaker version of Doomsday to fight Superman, then Yang comes in and punches him in the face. Or like Reverse Flash, just only because I just want him to say, "It was me, RWBY."
No, knowing Kilgore, he would have summoned the lame Captain Cold again.
Oh, fuck off! Captain Cold is an awesome villain.
He is cool in Injustice, but in other media, he kind of sucks.
Oh, you can just go suck a Brainiac. See, I was actually expecting to go into this podcast review like mate saying a lot of the hot takes and me dissing him. Nah, it's actually the opposite. Me and mate have actually been on similar wavelengths. But me and Sean, I see a falling out happening soon.
When a movie makes you so angry, yeah.
Oh, wow, angry. Okay, that's a bit dramatic. Okay, well, I've got my negatives about, you know, Kilgore being the villain, but I will say it.
I just have a question for Kilgore.
Yeah.
Okay, so his big plan was like to trap the Justice League and turn them into teens so they'd be vulnerable, right?
Yeah. Which is stupid. I do not like that twist. That was stupid.
Well, my question is, why not just turn them into babies and...
Okay, that's horrible.
Oh, logically speaking, I don't think
you reference that line.
Kilgore's not that. I don't think Kilgore would be that powerful to turn them into babies at that point.
No, the whole idea was that he was using their hormones to... Because you got to think, so they're in a virtual reality. So he turned them to babies and killing them wouldn't have done anything. It might have actually kicked them out of the simulation.
Fair enough.
But the reason they did is they wanted...
I just saw an opportunity to reference that moment, and
Yeah.
I'm so happy you responded with that exact quote.
It's a good quote, man. I love that scene. It made me like War Machine. We could talk about that movie another time, because I definitely want to move on to Marvel content in the future. But, okay, so Kilgore's plan is stupid. I don't like it. I feel as though it would have... I think they could have just done it simpler. He put them in Remnant because their powers wouldn't work. I think that would have worked. Plus, taking Batman... It would have actually been cooler if Batman didn't have his gadget, so he had to rely on Remnant ornaments. And Superman couldn't have the power of the sun. So, yeah, that would make sense.
You say that, he didn't use any gadgets.
That's what I'm saying. That's one of my other complaints about Batman. That's what's going to go into my major problems. But for now, I just feel as though they didn't need to be teens, because it doesn't even explain their costumes. They could have just had it. Kilgore just trapped them in a universe where they wouldn't be powerful. Maybe Wonder Woman can't speak with the gods, or maybe she doesn't have a gauntlet. Oh wait, no, that would make her more powerful. So okay, maybe. But yeah, so or Cyborg, he couldn't hack the technology because the Mother Box is not knowledgeable in Remnant. So how would it know how to hack things? So yeah, you take the Justice League out of their environment, which is good. But then turn them into teens is just so stupid. I'll go into more when we do the whole rant, but we're talking about the fights now. And if you're a RWBY fan, you'll love it. And
I love these fights.
they are really good. They also mix in some Justice League stuff, because one thing I love about watching the Justice League animated movies, every punch they do, you feel it. And thankfully, you feel every punch that these guys deliver. I love Flash doing his little tornado thing, flying the Grim into the air. I even like Cyborg and his little robot, how they work well together. Like,
Yeah, Rover's a great side character.
yeah, like, if you love the Justice League animated series or animated movies, action sequences, and you love RWBY, you'll be right at home. These fights are good. My highlights... At first I didn't like Superman with a mallet. I don't care if people say it's a hammer. That's a mallet. I don't care what people say.
You know what? If we had a nickel for every time a crossover gave Superman some kind of hammer, we'd have 2 nickels.
That's like our most used meme on this channel.
It's a good meme.
It is a good meme.
Hey, something has to override the meme you pulled last year. Like a band.
Listen, man, I've long left that joke away. Except you guys keep bringing it up for some reason. Alright, but other highlights. While I wasn't a fan of Batman with bat wings, they did utilize him well. He did his little iconic gliding thing at one point. That was pretty cool. I still wanted him to do the bit where he puts his cape in and it's just the silhouette. I guess it was not easy
They
to
did
do.
try the silhouette, and it looks horrible with the wings.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, yeah, but I just loved how they utilized like all the characters' new abilities. Vixen, even though she was just a background character, I love that moment that giant gorilla Grim tries to crush her, but then she summons the bear strength to overpower him, and the Grim's just like, uh-oh. Like, you can see it briefly, like, the Grim actually is like, uh-oh, before she, like, hurls him. And also, Yang just plowing her bike into a Grim as well while smiling. It's just like, that. I miss that Yang. I just miss the thrill-seeking Yang. And this movie did deliver her.
Can I say, like, a couple things, like, Blake-related, duh. Like, okay, that thing she does on the bike where she, like, gets a Grim to grab her ice clone that's still driving it, kills it, and gets back on the bike so, like, just flawlessly.
That was
or
so
how
good.
she's like, or how she's like swinging Nora around like a flail, like while riding the bike. Just that's some of the coolest things I've ever seen anyone do on a bike.
Yeah, it's pretty... Now I'm starting to realise why there wasn't a lot of fight scenes in Volume 9. Clearly they were saving it for this movie, and I'm all for it. Because the fight scenes
Apparently.
Because these fight scenes are really good. Yeah, I would have liked if they mixed in some other villains, like Kilgore summons, but... At the same time, it's kind of like playing Left... I look at it like when you play Left 4 Dead 2. Yeah, you are just fighting zombies, but you can have cool moments doing it.
I also kind of call it like Persona 5. Like, it's just pure eye candy.
Yeah. Like...
Also, like that whole action scene with the airship, when Blake attacks one of those lancers and actually like tames it, I had the biggest smile because I realized, oh my god, she did the thing.
Oh my god. Very subtle, RWBY. Very subtle. Is that them? Is that their way of saying the ship has sailed? Or I guess taken off?
I mean,
I think it's more like the ship has flown.
Same thing. At least it didn't blue.
I really wanted. See, now that I've seen this movie, I wanted to order this shirt just so I could like do an Unusual Suspect style review of it while wearing it, and just like get to that scene and just be like, wait, just look at the shirt, and just be like, she's doing the thing. Or something, I don't know, but it's sold out and has been sold out since.
That makes sense. The bees consume all.
Boy, doesn't that sting?
Nice. Alright, yeah, the fight scenes are really good. Like, I think this definitely makes up for the lack of fights we got from Volume 9. Yeah, I really liked it. I feel like each character got a chance to shine in the fight. I do have some negatives of what they did with some of the DC characters in some of these fights, but overall, I feel as though if you didn't enjoy this movie like Sean did, at least you have a cool fight that you can watch on YouTube.
If nothing else, it makes a good film to watch whilst pissed.
Yeah, I do kind of agree with a lot of people saying Kilgore explaining his plan while they're also showing everyone fighting was a bit weirdly edited, but it's still cool to watch. I mean, that's the thing, like, sure, I didn't like how they handled the characters, but at least I didn't fall asleep. You know, that was one of my votes. Am I going to get bored through this movie? But no, the fight scenes kept me awake, and they paced it really well, because they knew, okay, we've got to have this moment, this character moment, then we have the fight, then we do go back to this character moment. So it was, like, perfectly balanced. Like, so one of my worries was, are they going to do Volume 9 where they really space out the fight scenes just for the sake of character development, which, you know, as much as we like superheroes with serious moments, we also just want to see them kick the shit out of people or monsters. So I like they kind of just gave us best of both worlds. Trying to think if there's another highlight in the fights. You know, them all teaming up and taking down Kilgore's dragon when Kilgore was possessing it. I did like that. Every character got a moment of shining when they attacked it. There was never one person overshining the others.
Also, I love seeing like Superman and Batman, they're just flying side by side and kicking ass together. That's cool. Yeah,
I did kind of like that. I even kind of liked how Batman used Morse code to figure out Barry was trying to... That's a scene that I think gets really pushed aside from reviewers. It's just like, Flash knows he's possessed, so he's trying to like signal Batman, like saying, trapped, help, because he knows Batman's intelligent enough to figure it out.
Yeah, and of course, like, showing his semblance, detective vision, that's what I'm calling it.
I mean, might as well.
Like, you know, making that clear, I thought, oh, that's neat. And I love Superman's little, and they call me a Boy Scout.
Yeah, like, you know, little moments like that I liked. I will admit, I wish Kilgore just turned into a giant robot like he usually does in the comics. I mean, they even teased it, like when the Justice League will find him in their world, like, I don't like that he possessed the dragon. Like, come on, you could have had him at least turn into a robot Grim hybrid or something. Because here's the thing, I did another comparison image. Here's what Kilgore looks like in the DC comics, and here's his RWBY one.
Oh, that's one of the many designs
but this is like,
Max showed me.
Yeah, but this is just like the most frequently used one. Giant robot with disturbing, like, psychotic eyes. You can even kind of see he has, like, the large eye that overshadows his little one, showing the craziness of him. But yeah...
Why does he have dreadlocks?
Wires?
They're cool. Why does anything have anything? Because it's cool. But yeah, I just don't like the fact he didn't have really a physical appearance. Maybe that'll change in the next movie, because Kilgore's robot design is really cool. So, I don't know, just kind of lame he didn't have a chance of appearing. I mean, if they went through the effort of not only designing the original designs as well as the RWBY designs of the Justice League, you could have done a Justice League Kilgore. Like, come on. There's no excuse for that. That was just lazy. In saying that, though, you know what? Him and the dragon and him freaking out when he's getting weakened, and even Jessica Cruz using her ring to separate him. That was cool. I liked it. Before
I love the way RWBY says, "You got this, Lantern."
Yeah, they don't like saying the Superman name, but they'll say Green Lantern. Get your priorities straight.
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay, I know some people have issue with like them laughing at superhero names. Like, I still find it funny.
Okay, I will go into
There's,
reasons why it doesn't work here.
Some comics, like, yeah, the names are just daft.
Okay, no. I will disagree with you on next. I will go into when we do the major problems of this film. But, I tell you what, I've said my piece about the fight scenes. Mate, do you have any other highlights you want to shout about? Ones that will launch me out the window like last time?
I think I've said most of mine. When Nora absorbs electricity from Cyborg, they actually like show like her scars that she got from Volume 8, but they're glowing.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Okay.
I just want that to be a thing, because that looks cool.
They're very bit uncomfortable to look at sometimes. I know. I know some people have have that anxiety of, or I think it's a phobia of like scars or something like that. It's when there's like loads of them on one screen, it's really awkward for people and it makes them shiver. I think it's kind of like that arachnophobia sort of thing.
Yeah, but I still think like them glowing when she's like powering up, like that could look really awesome. And this movie shows that, hey, it did.
Alright, so you said your highlights.
Oh, and I have one more like just little cute moment I want to shout out.
You.
And when you were saying like, oh, like having a fight scene is great, it's just like Blake said near the end of the movie. Sometimes it's just nice to kick ass.
I will admit that's a little bit out of character of her, but I will admit the little butt bounce she did was cute. Of course you would save this gif. Of course you would. Oh my god. Also, she looks kind of flat-chested here. Alright then, so I guess Sean, do you want to have your final point before we get to a moment that's going to be a bit negative, but I hope to end it on a good note. But let's hear your thoughts on the fights in this movie.
The fights were okay.
They weren't just okay, they were fun.
It kept my attention, and it was cool to see all the characters using their abilities, the chain, all of them. I'll be honest though, when Jessica did her thing to Kilgore, I was just like, what the fuck even happened?
Okay, yeah, I suppose. So she says she deconstructed him because that's what a Green Lantern ring can do, because of course it can. Pay attention, people, there's a lot of things this ring can do. Death Battle showed that. So what she did was she separated the construct of like the AI of Kilgore away from like the digital form of the Grim.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's no real scientific way to explain it. That's what she did. I guess the best way to sum it up, she removed the band-aid from the leg in a techno sort of way.
We could explain it like it's a lantern ring. I ain't got to explain shit.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I did explain it regardless, but you don't have any like highlights of the fight, like no favorite little moments of the character?
Not really. It was just cool to see all the characters shine individually in a sort of way.
Okay, fair enough. You know what? That's enough. If you just were happy to see the characters team up, and I did like the little teams, even though there was no names for them. I did like each character teamed up with different. I like the little bit where Cyborg's on Yang's bike and they both nod at each other, and yeah, I even kind of liked Flash using this tornado to give someone a boost so that they can get more kills. So okay, so we.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I also have one more. It's just when Wonder Woman uses her lasso to launch a powered up Yang in Shnee Manor.
Okay, well, yeah,
that was a cool team up.
Yeah, that was cool. The explosion looks a bit video gamey, and it's a bit weird that there's no like real major damage done.
Welcome to Unreal Engine. It's supposed to be a video game. Look.
Yeah, I would have liked if there was like a little crater or something like that. It was still cool though. I liked it. So All right, so we've all got our highlights. We've all talked about what we thought about this film. So, shall we get to one of the two final subjects, and that is the major problem with this film. That what for me makes it mediocre.
Oh boy.
Okay.
It's gonna be fun.
Okay then. So people, I was pretty positive about this film, but to me, this didn't feel like a crossover.
Exactly.
Okay, no. Let me explain. I'm playing devil's advocate because I'm sure mate could even try and make some defense. I'm hoping. So of course, when I heard this was going to be the official comic characters meeting the official RWBY, hype. Even if you're not familiar with the Justice League, like May, he's never read their comics or watched their shows, but he knows they're iconic. So he was hyped the fact that RWBY are going to be able to team up with them.
I mean, of course, I know of like Batman, Superman, Flash, Wonder Woman, if anything, because they've been in Death Battle before.
Yeah, but not on like a level like me, who's grown up with their cartoons and movies.
Yeah, and like I vaguely remember watching the Justice League cartoon when I was way too young to remember a whole bunch.
I actually remember watching it now, because I think as an adult, you'll actually really like it, especially Justice League Unlimited. It's really good, and the show doesn't end on a cliffhanger. It was cancelled, but they at least ended it on like, though we won't be following them, their adventures go on. I really recommend it. You'll be surprised at how many heroes get introduced. When I was rewatching it for a certain lads debate, I was really surprised by so many characters. I was like, what? They were in the show? What? You'll even meet characters you're gonna be like, I have no idea who the fuck you are. And if you ever do watch it, we need to talk about it, because you're gonna be like, wait, what? Who's this faceless guy? Wait, who's this? But of course, yeah. So now let's say mate never has ever known anything about these DC characters. He's never heard of Batman, he's never heard of Superman, which, by the way, mate, how's that rock you're hiding underneath? This version of you that's never seen these characters. But let's say, hypothetically, he's never heard of the Justice League. He was more just RWBY. And this was his first introduction to them. I don't think this is a good introduction to these characters. Superman, I think, was done really well. Jessica Cruz, not too terribly, but, I do recommend, again, I'll put them on screen, the comic books that I recommend people read them for Jessica Cruz, and even the movie that came out for her. But, what are the major problems me and Sean clearly have with it? Well, we've already talked about it. The designs just do not do these characters justice. Sure, I get that they want them to match the RWBY aesthetic, but to me, you've already fucked up the crossover then. Because what's great about a crossover is seeing these really different looking characters in this world. Take Batman versus the TMNT. They never changed them to fit into Batman's story. They are exactly how they look in their material. So, and it's just interesting seeing Batman stand alongside these characters. Even in the comic book, they're not drastically changed to fit into their world. Even in the Injustice 2 game, when they're DLC, no, they're still their turtle-looking design. In fact, they go more towards the 80s cartoon look. It's just if they were realistic looking, but, not like the Michael Bay versions, thank God. So, trying to change the Justice League to match RWBY is not a good idea. In fact, what's even annoying about it is in some of the flashbacks, they did in fact have the OG designs in the RWBY looks, and I'll put them on screen for people. They look good. Superman and Wonder Woman especially look terrific in RWBY's design. Jessica Cruz and the Flash and Batman, I was just like, that looks so good. I want to see more of that. Because what looks more iconic? Batman standing next to RWBY in the RWBY design, or Batman in his iconic outfit standing next to Weiss? Like, clearly the comic design would have had more of an impact. And again, because Batman doesn't have his iconic look, like the helmet and the bat ears, you just look like you're looking at Bruce Wayne as a faunus, really. Sure, he has the bat symbol, but he doesn't use any of his gadgets or anything like that. So you don't really feel like you're looking at Batman, really. You know?
I will say it is weird that he doesn't use any gadgets, especially, like, I only thought of this joke when I was out for a walk today. When he's like scanning the door for that lab and saying, I need something small to cut through, and I'm just like, I think you're forgetting something, Bruce.
Where the fuck are your batarangs?
That's what I'm saying. Like, if all these other Wonder Woman still has a sword, so why does Batman not have his grappling hook? And hell, he has his Bruce Wayne suit underneath his armor. It's like, really?
No, didn't he steal that suit off a guy he knocked unconscious in the closet?
Yeah.
Oh, did it? Okay, I'll let that pass. But that's my thing. Sure, Batman's given powers, but do you really think Batman fans really want to see Batman without his gadgets? Sure, we don't need to see the Batmobile, we don't need to see the Batplane, we don't even need to see shark repellents. I would have loved it if they referenced that, to be honest. But don't you feel cheated? Like, mate, let's do again a reversal. Let's say Blake goes into the RWBY universe, but she doesn't have her weapon.
Wait, goes into the RWBY universe?
Sorry, into the DC universe. Like, let's say Blake doesn't have her sword. Like, how would you feel about that?
What does she get instead?
Just a basic katana, we'll say. Or maybe just like Batman, he gets nothing.
She.
No, I'm saying Batman got nothing. The point is, look, just answer the question, man. Stop delaying. How would you feel if Blake was taken to another series, but she wasn't allowed her iconic weapon?
That would be weird.
There you go, and that's how I felt. Batman without his gadgets is Blake without her sword. In a similar case, Yang without her gauntlets, RWBY without Crescent Rose. It just doesn't feel right. And if Diane is able to have her lasso of truth, her gauntlet, and her sword, why couldn't Batman have a batarang? Because you'll notice in all his fights, all he does is kick. That's literally all he does. I mean, at least we know he'll win
Clearly,
again.
they were more so watching Sanji from One Piece.
Yeah, at least we can say...
Is it weird? I was thinking of just like, I don't know, maybe he was just trying to, I don't know, take all the lessons that Kakashi taught him, and then my first thought was just like, I'm Batman, believe it!
Jesus Christ. Thank goodness you didn't write this movie. Actually, do you know what? Speaking of that, I never mentioned this. Nora Naruto runs at one point in the fight. That's adorable. What, do you guys not see? Did you guys never see that? When Vixen
I don't think I spotted that.
When Vixen gives her the boost up, she's Naruto running towards her. It's adorable. I love it. I'll put it on screen for people to see it. It's adorable. I love it. But yeah, so of course that's Batman's issue. But then look at characters like Cyborg, Flash, and Vixen, and Green Lantern. Majority of this film, they don't have their signature powers. Sure, the Flash moves fast, but then when you look at how fast he moves in other medias, there's so much power behind his speed. Whereas this one, because he's possessed a majority of the time, he really just doesn't get a moment of shining. There's no moment of using the Speed Force. I mean, that was Kilgore's plan, yet he can't seem to access it somehow. It just feels...
I don't know, maybe it's like Goku and the Goku Genyu situation.
Maybe, but that's the whole problem I have with this whole crossover. When you have a crossover, we want to see these powers interacting. You know, when in the again, I'm going to be pulling up comparisons from this one. When Batman and the TMNT are driving side by side, you have the Batmobile, but then you have the turtle van next to each other. That's like that's so cool. When Batman uses his batarangs, and you know Donatello or Wonder Turtles to flex it, that's so cool. When they're fighting the Batman Rogue Gallery, and you see how they interact with their weaponry, that's what I wanted to see. I would have loved a moment where I would have liked a little brief moment where Blake and Wonder Woman did fight, and you know they clash in their swords and shield. Like that would have been so cool. And then that's the other thing as well. None of these characters do any of their signature things, like the DC characters. Wonder Woman doesn't smash her gauntlets together to cause a shockwave. Flash never uses a lightning bolt or never super speeds really fast to create like a tornado. He does it with his staff, but it looks rather weak how he does it compared to how he does it in the comics. Superman does his heat vision, so I'm happy for that, and a little bit of his flying. But again, Batman doesn't have his gadgets. Cyborg doesn't do any of his like guns. Like, you know, he's a literal walking weapon. Yeah, he never summons a shoulder gun. He never fires missiles. That's like
He mostly just throws lightning.
Yeah, that's like watching an Iron Man movie and all he ever does is just a tank missile. Which, don't get me wrong, that's an effective weapon. Let's not. Bill,
you messed the lineup. Like all he ever does is a tank missile.
It's a good point. But yeah, that's really... Like, imagine a majority of an Iron Man movie, all he does... Like, imagine the Avengers movie, and Iron Man just uses a tank missile. That's not fun. I want to see all these crazy weaponry he can do. Like, how cool is it when he's fighting Thanos, and he's using every one of his weapons? Bladed, wrist-mounted blade, pulsar weapon, shield... That could have been a cool moment. Like, imagine Ruby's a big weapon fan. Imagine she saw Cyborg do his whole giant laser cannon thing, like he does in Injustice, where he summons, like he puts his hands together and it forms into a giant cannon. Ruby's just like, oh, that's so cool. Like, you know, something like that. So when you have these iconic characters and yet you don't utilize their powers, you kind of feel cheated. Because DC fans want to see their characters how they've known these characters, them doing their iconic things. But they kind of, this is going to go into my other major point, they kind of had the RWBY characters shine a bit too much. Now, I will correct some friends, even include one friend who's been constantly ranting about this film, even though she hasn't watched it yet. Not saying names. Let's just say she's a very angry person. Do you think that... Yeah, I think I'm dead. I think I'll edit this bit out. But
You're about as subtle with that as Kruby are with bees.
Hi, Billy. It was nice knowing you.
No, into the Shadow Realm. Okay, so...
Looks more like a purple realm.
Oh, nice. Purple.
I'm just saying.
Okay, so I took notes last week when we were going to do this review. So here's how I mean how RWBY characters shine more over the DC ones. So take how many guesses how many times RWBY characters had to be saved by the DC characters.
Once or twice.
Mate, what's your number?
I'm just gonna let you do this.
Okay, well, just 3 times. Which on one hand is like, okay, that's not too bad. That's not, you know, one side being too hard. So, since Mates doesn't want to guess it, Sean, guess how many times a DC character had to be saved or was being, like, overpowered?
21?
Okay, thankfully not that bad. No, 9 times. 9 times. Okay, like, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm going to put up this comparison, so I did watch this crossover afterwards to do a comparison. So, when Batman and the TMNT first fight each other, Batman wins. But then next fight, when he's turned into a mutant, TMNT win. So it's 1-1. Now in comparison, when they fight their villains, now when the Turtles fight Ra's al Ghul for the first time, Ra's wins. But then Leonardo wins it in the end. So that way, you know, it's a 1-1 each. Batman against the Shredder. He lost his first fight with the Shredder, but then he won the final fight. So it's perfectly balanced. Both series got an equal opportunity to shine, and, you know, one didn't feel like it was patronizing the other one. And this kind of goes into my main point. A lot of the RWBY characters really undersell the Justice League. When Cyborg's saying, like, oh, we fought monsters before. And I was like, have you ever fought a Grimm? It's like, well, they fought Darkseid's Parademon army, which are basically Grimm, just demons. You know?
And Doomsday is just the Grimm, but on steroids.
Yeah, exactly. Superman's fought Doomsday. He's fought Brainiac. In fact, they've name-dropped Brainiac, so they clearly know how to fight these demonic type of monsters. And just the first moment when Superman fight... Now, on one hand, at least this has a story explanation. When Superman tries to help, and he's just immediately swatted away by the Grimm. Can't lie, bad first impression. Maybe they could have had it where he realizes he's not as strong as he was, rather than him just being swatted away just so RWBY and Yang can take more of the spotlight. Sure, he gets his moment of heat blasting the other ones away, but you do get a feeling this was more for RWBY fans than Justice League fans. And the reason I have that issue as well, because in one of the comic books, there's kind of like they kind of did that as well, where a majority of RWBY characters just make fun of the Justice League. Now, Mate's going to defend this as well. Okay, so making fun of superhero names. I don't have a major problem with like a lot of social media seems to have these days, as long as it's done in good taste. Like, for instance, the MCU's Ant-Man. When Darren makes fun of Ant-Man, he goes like, that's what they called you, right? That was your code name, the Ant-Man? They're making fun of the name, but they're explaining why he was called it. It was a code name, because he shrinks, and he's an ant, and he talks to ants. Not only that, they show video of him fighting Nazis, like him mounting a machine gun and no one can figure out who's using it. But then you get those really cringy moments, like in Spider-Man No Way Home, when they go, who are you? Dr. Octavius. That's really your name. It's like, wow, just way to really ruin this cool character's name. And that's what they kind of did in this movie, when Superman just goes, call me Superman. When Yang does it, that's in character Yang. But when RWBY's also like that, I don't know, man. And Superman gives his identity away. He doesn't know these girls. They could be part of the Legion of Doom, the League of Assassins. And he just said, yeah, my name's Clark. It's like, well done, dipshit. You know, why? And you think, okay, that's the only time they do it. No, Blake makes fun of his name, Yang makes fun of it again, and then makes fun of it again when Jean makes fun of Batman. Even Flash makes fun of it, but luckily, you know, that's explained because, you know, he's being possessed by Kilgore and he's a spiteful little shit. I just don't like that mentality of making fun of him that hard of a name. They could have made a joke, like, he's called Superman. Maybe Yang could have been like, you know, we've kind of adjusted to it. You know, I just don't understand why you bring these characters in and you're just making fun of their names. Like, again, role reversal. Let's say they bring in Blake. I know I'm using this a lot, but honestly, she's really easy to use for this explanation. Let's say Blake is here and she takes off her ears. She has cat ears, and everyone just laughs at her. Like, you look like one of those like little VTubers. It's like, man, that's just, I wouldn't want that. I want these characters to look badass to all these characters.
Also, I think that's not exactly the right comparison. Like, to be honest, I thought the comparison you were going to try and give is if, like, I don't know, Blake says her name and they make fun of that. My response was just going to be, yeah, she didn't choose her name.
No, but you get the idea. Like, when you have heroes... Now, again, I'm going to do a comparison. Batman vs. TMNT. When Batman name drops Scarecrow, all Leo does is goes, really? Like, that's it. That's not too insulting, but of course, yeah, it's poking fun at it, but then Scarecrow immediately shows why he's called that. He hits him with the fear toxin, showing his brother is being killed, and torments him. Whereas, when the characters are made fun of, they do those anime emotes. And the Justice League doing those anime emotes doesn't work for the Justice League. The reason it worked for the Teen Titans cartoon was because the art style was more to mimic the type of world they live in. Whereas I feel as though the Justice League should have had more serious type of animation over the RWBY's having a more anime aesthetic. Because when Wonder Woman does that whole leaning over and Weiss says, "Hi Weiss, nice to meet you, I've heard such great things about you." It's just like, that doesn't look right. Especially with little anime flowers, you know?
I still like it.
I mean, fair enough, but I just feel as though it just doesn't match the theme of the Justice League, being these over anime sorts of... Even when Jessica Cruz opens, like when she's shouting at Kilgore, she opens the panels to shout more. It's just like, what? So that's...
I mean, I still get a laugh out of just like Superman's little like pout after Yang first says, yeah, no. It's like,
nah,
I just see that pout. It's just like, the nerve of this woman.
Nah, man, he shouldn't have done that. He should have just been like, get used to it, or something like that. Or maybe he should have still stuck the pose, but he's just like, okay, well, call me Clark. But still does the Superman pose. When you make fun of a superhero name 4 times, that just gets repetitive. It's not funny. It wasn't funny the first time, so why do you have to keep on doing that? That's the other thing as well. They should have referred to them as their superhero names. In fact, the Team RWBY should have loved the fact they were teamed up with superheroes, because they've read fairy tales of all these heroes. So why would they not be fangirling these? I'm not saying they have to be obsessed with them, but, you know, just have moments where, like, you know, they call them by their names. Like, I would have loved it when Blake goes, Superman. Yang's like, you know what, the name actually grows on you. Because I feel like that's just an insult to the image that the Justice League have put, and it's kind of just a middle finger to, you know, their legacy.
Alright, Bill, I hear you, but I have one question.
Yeah?
How would you feel if in part 2, because a popular idea is that it's going to be RWBY going to the DC side, say they see them in their, like, actual looks. What if that's when they're just like, you know what, I get it.
I think it'd just be one movie too late. You had your chance in the first movie and you failed at that. If you really have to rely on a two-part movie to have them be respectful to these iconic heroes, that, let's be real here, if it wasn't for the Justice League, we wouldn't have a lot of these iconic superhero teams. Maybe we wouldn't have had RWBY. So I'm not saying they had to suck their dick, but there should have been moments where each side was complementing one another. Sure, in the final battle, they all had their moment of shining, but I feel as though the majority of this film, we should have had like a good balance of one side teaching the other side good things, whereas the other one is learning. Like, Batman, wanting to leave, but Weiss should have been the one that should have encouraged him to go back because Gotham needs him. Then maybe when he wants her to come, not in that way, then yeah, that could have been a moment when Weiss explains, no, my place is here as yours is in Gotham. But because the majority of the time it has to be the RWBY characters to tell the Justice League how to be heroes, it just doesn't work a lot of the time. I think it works with Jessica Cruz and Jean really well because both of them have similar issues. RWBY and Superman, they both had trouble being leaders, so it makes sense. But when you have to have your movie, as much as I like the fight scene in the airship, a majority of the time Blake was just saving Wonder Woman, and it just kind of just felt a bit too forced just to have Erin have her moment of saving her hero. Maybe I'm looking into that wrong. I would just like to think maybe they just wanted the RWBY characters to shine a bit more because they feel as though they don't get to, but I don't know. This is what I don't want them to do for the second film. Don't have the Justice League then overshine RWBY. Have them both have their moments. Maybe there'll be a moment where Team RWBY have a fight with one of the heroes, but then there's a misunderstanding and it ends in a stalemate. That's what I kind of liked about, funny enough, the new comic series they're doing. It ended in a stalemate. RWBY attacked Batman because they mistake him for a villain, but then it ends in a stalemate because, yeah, they both realize, hold on a minute, maybe we misjudged you, let us explain why we're here. I'm just like, that's brilliant. I haven't read any more of those comic books, but from what I've heard, they're pretty good. People say they're much better than how they are in the first few comics that they did. So, okay, I've ranted along and we're nearly up to the 3 hour mark, so mate, let's hear your defense. Mate, let's hear your defense for this. So, the whole superhero name making fun of, let's hear your defense for that, because that was the one you really wanted to defend.
Well, it's not something I'm passionate about. I just get a laugh out of it sometimes. You mentioned the Spider-Man thing. It was just okay, you see a guy who has 8 limbs and is an octopus basically, and then you find out his name is Otto Octavius.
He's called Spider-Man. He climbs on walls and shoots webs. Hell, one of his iconic heroes is Captain America. Yeah, a man being an octopus, that's weird.
No, but it's the fact that he, says his name, says his actual name, and then they're just no, what's your actual name?
Yeah.
Because you have 8 limbs and your last name is Octavius. It's a bit daft when you look at it that way.
That's why we love superhero stuff. They're just cheesy, fun stories with funny sounding names. Again though, because RWBY are just making fun of the Justice League names, heck, no one makes fun of Cyborg just being called Cyborg.
Did they actually say his superhero name? Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. No one makes fun of that. That's what I'm saying, and because they did it a lot with Superman, like I said, if they had a brief moment where they had their goodbye and that's when RWBY said goodbye to Superman, I would forgive all they're making fun of, because they now realise how good Superman is. But because Superman doesn't really get... because the Justice League don't get too many moments because they're busy being saved by Team RWBY, they don't get to see why these heroes are so great. Whereas the Justice League got to see why RWBY are so great. It's why I kind of feel as though the Batman, funny enough, the movie with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles managed to pay better respect to both their franchises, whereas this one didn't really. Plus, with all that freaking Batman wanted to stay with Weiss and Cyborg and Ren thing, it's you didn't really have a great moment now. Plus, we never even got to see how these guys met the Flash, Vixen, and Cyborg. We just literally cut to them in a classroom. Couldn't spare like 10 minutes of them finding each other. But, so, what, do you have any more defense, though, mate, for why do you disagree that I might be too harsh?
To be honest, I just feel like nothing I say is going to really do anything.
No. Give your. That's the whole point of this podcast. You should give your counter arguments. Like, I'm saying this doesn't feel like a crossover. What's your counter argument?
I'm just all I really have is I just had fun with it. It's like entertained me from start to finish, and that's really all I wanted out of it.
Right, but what do you think of my points about how the characters are represented?
I mean, I get it, but I can still watch the film and enjoy it.
Okay, I felt like that was a bit of a dig, but we'll move over that. Alright, well, since mate doesn't really have anything to say for that, I guess. Sean, do you have any sort of counter arguments, or do you actually do you have any more critiques?
Listen, with your whole argument, I get it that you wanted the characters to be represented well, and yeah, this isn't exactly a good crossover in any way for a DC fan. As a RWBY fan, though, I think it kind of works.
I think some characters got butchered, like Nora and Ren, and even Yang kind of gets shafted a lot. So like, she doesn't really have many lines.
I think a big part of this is just introducing people to all these DC characters as well. Like, mate, you brought this up earlier. Jessica has gotten so many more fans because of this movie.
I kind of want to see a fanfic where she's adopted as Blake and Yang's daughter.
Honestly, I do feel as though the fan base has been very like petty towards the DC side for not really enjoying this, and the fact that they even said that you don't deserve Jessica Cruz because your series sucks now. That's why I wasn't a huge fan of that latest AG comics. I just felt a bit petty from the RWBY fan there.
Yeah, all that
petty, but
all that stuff I'm just staying out of.
Yeah, all fan bases can get like that at the end of the day.
True, I mean, yeah, half of RWBY's fandom can be very toxic, so I am aware of this.
And I'm responsible for like half of that.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say you're
like,
one of the good fans.
It's just a dumb joke.
I know, but like I more so mean every fan base has their moments where they can get like this.
I suppose, but like them getting angry at the DC fans for not liking this film, I think we have the right to not like how our characters are represented. Similar if this was a role reversal, if RWBY characters were completely wronged, I still would be pissed off because I'm a RWBY fan as well. Because I don't
people just need to take into account that this is for both RWBY and DC fans, and if you like RWBY, you'll like the movie. If you like DC, you probably won't like it. But as a crossover, it kind of misses the mark, and that's what makes me so angry about it, because I was looking so forward to this thing.
Same here. I just feel as though... I guess my final say before we get to the final question, before wrapping up this recording, is that all I want for the next film, and this is going to go into a video I've thought about doing, because I've actually started to like this idea lately, and I want the next film to not feature this Justice League. I want it to be a different Justice League. Maybe they were watching this because they were tracking down their Kilgore, and they had and he used like fake versions of the Justice League. Similar to that one episode where this kid was making this fake superhero land with all these superheroes that died years ago, but while they still had their personalities, they were being controlled by the villain, but they took down the villain knowing that they would die as well. So when Weiss meets Batman, Batman's just like, I'm not the Batman you spoke to. But I know that's going to sound... Oh, that just sounds kind of horrible. Doesn't that ruin a lot of moments? One, no it doesn't. Because clearly the Justice League were impressed by RWBY that they would have summoned them to help track down Kilgore. That's what I kind of want. Similar to in the Injustice game when that version of Batman summoned the canonical Justice League to help out with their evil Superman. Maybe they saw how they fought Kilgore, bring them to their universe, and it's like, we need your help. Because you clearly can help us with Kilgore, and we need to stop his other villains he's teamed up with.
Like,
I have theories on that.
Yeah. Honestly, though, it's more so of what they can do with the RWBY villain as well, who is working with Kilgore, which there's a lot of speculations I've seen. But at the end of the day, I feel like part one just kind of misses the mark about what makes the Justice League great. It's just they're. That's why I feel like. I feel that this movie somehow managed to be worse than something else I was very excited for. It missed the mark of what it's trying to be. It instead becomes something completely different.
And to be honest, I feel like Mate. I'm not trying to be a dig at Mate here, but he kind of does represent it. He doesn't know the Justice League, so he doesn't. I feel like if Mate was more into the Justice League, like me and Sean are, he could understand that frustration. But because he was more interested in the RWBY side, he just saw a fun movie. Which, hey, do you know what? That's good. At least you didn't get annoyed of how your characters were represented. But
I'm honestly just like that with any adaptation of comic books. To be honest, like, hell, I remember like when I was watching the Black Adam Death Battle, and then I watched the movie. I wasn't going into it. It's just like, oh, he's meant to be like this, or no, that's meant to be like this. I'm just like, just give me a fun movie.
That's fair enough, but I feel as though, like I said, the role reversal, if they did do a crossover with RWBY and none of the RWBY characters looked at all like their original designs, they didn't have their iconic powers, and they were just changed so they could fit into the DC world, and they didn't even have their personalities correct, you would be pissed. Even if the film is fun, you would have complaints about that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, maybe.
Sadly, it's just like, for me, this movie just couldn't be fun. Like, I was so excited, and there was nothing fun about the movie.
Okay, no. There were fun moments.
Superman.
There were the fights and the duos. Some of them were good, some of them were shit, and yes, they did fuck up a lot of characters like Batman and Wonder Woman.
But listen, if you are a fan of RWBY and you grew to like some of the Justice League characters, then that's fair. You know, again, Jessica Cruz, I feel like, is the big example. A lot of people like Jessica. A lot of people like how Superman and RWBY had that brother-sister relationship. It's great if you like the character, if you like the movie.
Yeah. So, I guess that would be a good
Just understand where we are coming from when we're just like, we don't like this. It's not exactly to our liking. Please be understanding.
Yeah, that's why I just really got mad at a lot of RWBY fans on Twitter attacking DC fans because they feel cheated for this film, including even making spiteful comments towards DC, like, DC sucks now, let's have Jessica Cruz. Like, fuck off. I understand AG just did that commission for the money, but I don't like that mindset. If roles were reversed, then, you know, Yang was like, RWBY sucks now, I want to join the Justice League. It's like, no, fuck you as well for that. But I think what Sean said does go into a major question which could end this podcast on a positive note. So, mate, now that you've been, I'm going to say, because I don't feel as though Death Battle really introduced you to these characters properly, this was your first chance at seeing the Justice League. After watching this movie, are you interested in looking up more of the material of these characters?
Yeah, I'd be down for it.
To me, you know what? That's good enough. The film may have not been what I always wanted it, but if this is going to be the way for more RWBY fans to start looking into the Justice League stuff, then you know what? I'm happy. Do I wish the film was better? Absolutely. Did I at least have fun with it? I had fun. Am I still excited for part 2 despite my little bit of a negative rant? Of course I fucking am. I love RWBY and the Justice League. It's kind of like if I go to a McDonald's and they give me a shit burger, I'll probably go again if they offer a better one. Plus, who knows? Maybe they'll take the criticisms they heard from DC fans and do better. Because I've actually thought about doing a rewrite series, because I've actually started to watch a few of those for like stories, and they're actually kind of interesting topics, sort of like what ifs in a way. And yeah, there's a lot of things I think they could have done different in this film, but maybe this could be a way in how they do the next film. Just like I said, maybe it doesn't have to be a continuation of this Justice League. Maybe this could have been a way for RWBY to learn about the multiverse, and they interact with the Justice League properly. They meet Superman and stuff like that, and they get to bond with them more, and both can get highlights. Introduce more DC villains. Like, I want to see Lex Luthor, maybe the Joker, Scarecrow, or again, maybe have Kilgore in his robot suit. Maybe not the Reverse Flash, because I think he's a little bit sick and twisted for Team RWBY. But yeah, like next film, have so much fun. Maybe even throw in some RWBY characters that have died and they got resurrected. Like, maybe Adam Torres can come back. So I feel as though he didn't really have an interest in final battle, so maybe this could be a chance to do better, give him a better final battle. Like, maybe there's just a lot of opportunities you can do with this next film. Plus, we did learn, because Mate definitely wants to give his theories on this, that Kilgore had help from the RWBY universe. So who do you speculate Kilgore's working for?
Well, he worked with and then got double-crossed by someone on Remnant.
Not the most intelligent robot, is he?
Yeah, okay, so there are two candidates that I think that would work. The obvious one is Watts. And I think, you know what, given that they're an Atlas, that could work. He would have access to that simulation. Maybe he could, like, hack into it. Plus, we would get Christopher Sabat back.
True.
So, that'd be neat. The other option, and I'm honestly more interested in this idea because I think it's a better twist, is Dr. Merlot.
Who?
Dr. Merlot was the villain from Grim Eclipse. I've honestly kind of wanted to see him come back in some way because I feel like there could have been a bit more to him, like flesh him out a bit more, find out like more of his motivation. And if he was the villain wanted to trap teams RWBY and Juniper, they're the ones who messed up his plan. So, you know, maybe he wants revenge.
I suppose that could work. I mean, I guess it would give a lesser-known villain. Plus, I think if they do Watts, then I don't know. Like, surely Team RWBY will be able to know of him and stop him.
Yeah, so it kind of creates a bit of a
If
thing.
this is
So
a,
I think
a
Molo is the way to go.
if this is a non-canon story, then I would actually say include Salem. But of course, since they seem like they want to hint that this is going to be canon to the RWBY story, then yeah, maybe just don't include current villains. Like, don't have Cinder or Neo involved because it just doesn't make sense that they would be intervening.
Yeah, so I say go with Molo or just a brand new villain.
Yeah. I've heard there's an interesting villain in one of the latest RWBY games. So...
You mean the guy from Arrowfell?
yeah, I haven't played the game myself, but I have heard he's an interesting villain.
I'm glad I didn't say the name.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't played the game yet. I do plan to play it at some point this year. You know, when I get money from my new job.
I will just say it's mostly a simple platformer. Just something to have fun with.
Fair enough. But that's what I kind of
like the Shantae games.
Oh, I love the Shantae games. Got them for Xbox Gold a lot of the time. But I guess that goes into my main points that I want more variety with the villains as well for the next movie. You know, because I just feel as though Kilgore, if he's able to summon these Grim, I feel as though he could also summon some DC villains. That would have been fun to see. Even if they're like weaker versions, still would have been cool to see. You know? So they have another chance. Maybe they can do it in film. Just don't have it just be a one villain. Like, one of the best moments from TMNT meets Batman was they start fighting the mutant versions of the Batman Rogue Gallery. Like, Mr. Freeze is a giant polar bear, Scarecrow is a literal crow, and Joker as a freaking viper. It's like, you know, have some fun. Maybe Bane could be in it and he's using dust to power his venom. You know, like, they could do stuff like that. Like, you know, take a lot of criticisms you've heard from the DC fans, RWBY and Megan, I think is the name of the writer for this movie. You know, I'll put it on screen if I'm wrong. Like, you know, take the criticisms you heard from DC.
I'll look it up.
That's alright, I'll just put it on screen when I'm editing. But yeah, like...
yeah, it's Megan Fitzmartin.
Yeah. So, you know, take the criticism DC fans have had, and to quote Kratos, be better. In the next film, do better, make it feel like a true crossover. Because I was thinking after watching that film, I want to go into this saying I don't want a sequel. But no, I do. Because, you know what? I do want this film to have a second chance. Don't just make it another one of this film. Don't have like an opposite where the DC characters have to show off the RWBY characters, because that's not fun as well. Like, I want to see... Especially Mate would definitely not like it. Like, I have a lot of DC animated movies that I watch religiously. And I want this movie to be the same, but it's not. So in your part 2 movie, change that. Have it so that every day I want to watch this film, or I'm divided. Like, oh, do I want to watch Under the Red Hood, or do I want to watch this crossover? You know, I want something like that. And, well, we're on the 3-hour mark, so I think that's a good point to leave on my case. I've said my piece about this crossover. I think it's mediocre. It could be better in the next one. I'm optimistic. Mate, any final says?
I just think it's a fun movie.
Fair enough.
Just go into it with your brain turned off, drink in one hand, snack in the other. Like, I'd say it's a good time.
Alright then. Sean, what's your final say? Can you at least end it on a nice note?
No. Fuck this movie.
I guess a good summary of how we've all reviewed this film. Mate is the good, Sean's the bad, and I'm the ugly. I'm not saying the film is ugly, I am an ugly man who says this film is mediocre. But, yeah, I think that's a good note to leave on. This is going to be a hell of an edit, people.
Have fun.
This is definitely going to be separate parts.
Like everything.
Just like everything. It keeps people wanting more. So, I guess my final say is, thank you all so much for watching. What did you think of this movie? Did you think it was mediocre? Did you think it was terrible like Sean? Or did you think it was a fun time? Let us know in the comments down below. And with all that said and done, thank you all so much for watching. And if you enjoyed what you saw here, be sure to stick around. We'll have more content like this in the future. You're ready, mate.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe. If you did not enjoy, be sure to like and subscribe. Well, Bill kind of said everything, didn't he? So, Sean.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this last discuss today. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. And let us know your thoughts on the movie down below. And I am sorry I sounded so genuinely angry. It's just that this movie does things to you. But thank you folks for watching. I will see you all later.
Oh, actually, there was a deleted scene I was meant to show you guys for this review. Here it is.
Somebody kick Bill from the call.
Good night, everybody.